This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey everybody, this is Chase from Barrel Age Flicks. Go ahead and check out our Patreon for raw, uncut footage and early access to all of our episodes. The link is in the description, and it's only $5 a month. Thanks for listening.
No, sorry, I just get so angry all the time. Oh, always angry.
Well, we're the same, you and I. But just a couple of hot-headed fools.
Yeah, same. Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Well, kind of both like fire.
And Hulk like real fire. Hulk like raging fire. Thor like smoldering fire.
Whoa, hey, buddy. What do you think? Maximum occupancy has been reached.
Take the steps.
Yes. Stop.
Take the stairs. Take the stairs.
I can't get too excited.
Hulk! Smash!
Now you see, I don't get a suit of armor. I'm exposed. Like a nerve. It's a nightmare.
Puny God.
Thanks, but the last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem.
All right, thank you guys so much for joining us for this small batch episode. This episode's going to feature myself, Lenny, yeah man. We also have Ron and Stu. Today we're going to be discussing, if you haven't guessed yet, is going to be about the Hulk, specifically the Hulk in terms of certain parts of the comic book genre and also how it relates in our opinions of the different movie Hulks. Before we get into that, as always, with Barrel Age Flicks, we have a drink that we feature. So this particular drink, you guessed it, is called the Incredible Hulk. And I went ahead and looked it up. You guys can go online and look this stuff up. There is several recipes. There is handfuls of them. So long as the drink comes out like a green color, you can call it the Incredible Hulk and it's a drink. So, but this particular drink is a recipe that I've actually seen consistently come up for years as deemed the Incredible Hulk drink, and it is it's Hennessy and Hypnotic mixed together. So when you guys make this drink, in most recipes that you see, it's going to call for one part of both. But if you do that, the drink's going to come out kind of like it almost looks like pond water. So if you really want that green
It doesn't
color,
really look that appealing. I'm really curious.
I know. So even so this kind of green, it almost has like a toxic green to it.
Yeah.
So what I did in order to make sure, and this was the advice I got from one of the websites I looked at, to get it more of a green color, you do 2 parts Hypnotic, 1 part Hennessy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Hennessy. It just has to be a cognac of some kind. So that's what we have in front of us. We have a shot's worth of this, and let's go ahead and down the hatch, guys.
Cheers, guys. All right. Prost.
And, yeah.
Wow, I actually like that.
Yeah, why don't you tell me about it?
I don't know. It's got a little bit of, it's not that too sweet. It's actually a little bitter.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. It's actually really good. I'm kind of surprised. I would not mind having more shots of that.
So
it's not too sweet.
Yeah,
it's more bittery.
It's got a strong kind of it's the Hulk, so it's got a good strong punch at the beginning, but it has like a smooth sort of aftertaste of you taste more of the sweet at the end.
Right.
What do you think, Stu?
I'm not a fan.
Really?
Yeah, and that's because I just really don't like Hypnotic at all. At all. And I ain't a big fan of cognac either. So, yeah, we're taking 2 things that I really don't enjoy, put them together, and here you go.
So 2 thumbs down for you, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I can drink it. It's just,
It's not a go-to for you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say this flat out. I'll get 2 thumbs up. I actually like it. I can have
2
many
thumbs
shots
down
of
for
that.
me.
How about you?
So I would give it I'd probably give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It's sort of it's
half and half.
Yeah. So it's definitely not Jaeger. Like Jaeger's kind of my thing. I like shooting Jaeger, but it's not terrible either. It's like I said, it's very strong. Like that's not something that you want to like drink a whole bunch of, because I could see why it's called the Incredible Hulk, because it kind of kicks your ass after a while.
Yeah.
but it's it's enjoyable enough that I wouldn't. It's not bad enough to be a punishment shot. Let's put it that way. It tastes the
bitterness in the sour. That's what I like, and I like sour things.
Yeah,
that's why I like it. So I actually enjoy that one.
Nice,
good choice.
No, thank you. So today we are going to talk about the Incredible Hulk. I know that from what I've seen on YouTube and from research that I've looked at, most people, majority of people, focus on either you have your classic Hulk that. Where he's Bruce Banner, and then he turns into the Hulk, and then he comes back, and it's like this cursed life that he has.
Like a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing.
Right. And then you have, it's either that
Which was one of Stan Lee's inspirations.
Yeah. I kind of figured that.
Yeah.
Frankenstein and Jekyll and Hyde is where he said the ideas came up for.
Right.
Nice. And it's either that or like the whole Planet Hulk, where he gets exiled and he gets tricked, basically, gets sent to this other planet, and then eventually finds his way back to Earth to kind of wreak havoc and revenge on all the superheroes that fucked him over, essentially. But the comic book Hulk that I wanted to kind of focus on a little bit more is the comic book Hulk that I grew up with, and that was the Intelligent Hulk. Now, that particular Hulk comes about in issue 377. There is a special edition comic where essentially he is being psychoanalyzed and hypnotized by two different individuals that are trying to help him.
Yeah.
They're trying to find a way to help him. And it's really cool because in that one particular comic, you really get how fucked his childhood was.
Yes.
You don't really think about it very much, but his childhood and like that because people think to themselves, how can this creature, this thing, have such a river of anger and rage and torment in him enough to fuel this thing that happens? It's quite simple. His father was an abusive piece of shit and used to beat him relentlessly and treat him like he was scum. And one day his mother she's had enough, and she's beaten too. She's had enough, so she tries to escape with Bruce. And Bruce is like maybe like, I don't know, I think at this point he was 8, 9 years old. He was still a little boy. Mm-hmm. And they're in the driveway, and they're about to leave, and the dad shows up and catches them mid trying to leave. And he's like, oh, you think you're going to fucking leave? And he attacks the mom right in front of Bruce and kills her right in front of him.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment that Bruce, he shut down emotionally. He stopped. He told himself that, this is like a result of having emotions, and emotions are bad. So I'm just not going to feel anything, which is why he grows up to be this brilliant scientist, because all he focused all his efforts into was science and research and studying in school. No fun, no girlfriends, no nothing. And so earlier than the 377 comic, there was the Gray Hulk, which I haven't read a lot on those comics, but
Joe Fixit.
Yeah, Joe Fixit. So Joe Fixit is sort of like that alter ego, that persona where he does Hulk out. He becomes the Hulk, but he's not as powerful or as strong as foreboding as a Green Hulk, but he's still obviously a formidable opponent.
Okay, so just to do more of a deep dive, nerdy shit.
Sure. That's what we're here for.
Okay, so
exactly.
Bruce Banner, he actually has multiple personality disorder or disassociative personality,
right? Yeah,
DPD, whatever.
Yeah. Can I
the current name is?
Can I interrupt on one thing? I don't know if it has to do anything with it, but Bruce Banner. His name's Bruce Banner, and the Batman character Bruce Wayne. Was that just coincidence, or did they?
It was coincidence. Stan Lee liked to name his characters
because it's two split personalities when you think about it.
No, he liked to name his characters that start what is it? Alliteratives, things that start with the same letter.
Okay,
because Stan Lee just found it easier to remember the characters, how many he had. So he just named a lot of his characters, Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, and so forth. Just the same similar sounding things.
I did not even realize that.
It's made it easy for him. And there's actually a few of the early issues where they screwed up, and even though he used that alliteratives to try to remember, he was referred to as Bob Banner. In the actual issues,
that doesn't work at all.
It does. They end up not retconning it. Technically, Bruce Banner's full name, according to comics now, is Robert Bruce Banner.
Yes.
So it gave him the reason of why he called him Bob.
See, that's why I'm glad I'm asked, because like I said, I did not know that. I was always curious about that, because I know that DC and Marvel were kind of like competition, and I've seen some names used, same names. And
not in this case. In this case, it was just something easy for Stan Lee to remember.
Okay, cool.
That's all it was. But so
excellent shot, by the way.
Bruce Banner has split personalities. Like a lot of, I'm going to say a lot, but a sizable portion of anybody who's gone through major childhood trauma.
Yeah.
A common coping mechanism, besides shutting down, would be developing personalities to help deal with different stressful situations.
Right.
So they had what we think of the dumb Hulk, that stuff like that, as basically his super childlike. When he first saw the abuse, that's where his intelligence level was,
right,
and just stopped right there. That's what we think of the classic Hulk, the dumb Hulk,
right.
You have Joe Fixit, Gray Hulk, and that was more of the rebellious, angsty teen that he never got to be.
Exactly.
Kind of conniving, a little, pushing the boundaries, wanting to mess around with a little dark stuff. He never allowed himself to be that, so he created this personality of Joe Fixit in order to explore that. You have Savage Hulk, who is childlike but super brutal, super strong, doesn't really understand the way the world works. And that was around where he was 7 or 8, mentality wise. Then you have Devil Hulk, which is basically a representation of his father.
Devil Hulk? I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
it's Red Hulk.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, there is a Red Hulk, but that's not Bruce Banner.
No.
Devil Hulk is.
I'm completely dumb when it comes to Hulk. Just letting you guys know.
That's fine.
Lenny and Stu are the Hulk guys.
Yeah.
Almost like reptilian type features.
Yeah.
Bright red eyes. It's basically his father's influence is manifested inside of him.
Right.
And so evil basically. You have the Immortal Hulk, which is the current storyline, where basically Hulk realizes everything that he goes through, everything that he dies, comes back, it's this Immortal Hulk has gone through this, and it's the reason why he keeps coming back. The Hulk is unkillable.
Right.
And then they go into other storylines currently where the Hulk presence has been around from, throughout the multiverse and been created as the multiverse gets created and destroyed. In the lowest level of hell, there's this weird force called the One Below that controls the mutating version of the gamma radiation,
right.
And wants to just see the end of all life.
Oh wow!
And so it influences that's going on, and that's a current storyline that's going on right now. And it's just interesting to see that every Hulk is its own personality, and the reason for that is because Bruce's mind is fractured, and they'll have many times where they'll go into his mind, and you see these different Hulks sitting around,
right,
talking about how they should handle a situation, because none of them have true control. Bruce doesn't have true control. None of the Hulks have true control. It's a consensus of the group figuring out what we're going to do, and I really applaud that. There's a deep dive into that character, something that started out so simple as just a copycat of the Thing from Fantastic Four, which is what it started out as, because that was the Thing was the most popular character at the time. Like, right.
Yeah, because isn't the Thing almost kind of sort of relatable to the Hulk in a way?
Sort of, as far as the fact that it's an imperfect creature, it's an imperfect hero of the story, like Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah,
which is where the Thing was given credit to, and Stanley saw that and saying, you know what, people don't necessarily always want to root for the perfect guy, the perfect Superman type person.
Yeah.
They want to root for a flawed hero.
Right.
And that's kind of like, not to go too off track, but that's sort of like what Venom is. He's almost
absolutely
Venom and Deadpool. They're like, they have their own sense of morals, even though they're really violent and kind of fucked up how they take care of the problem. But a lot of people identify with that.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's another show. So I was going to jump in and say that, yeah, so he basically gets hypnotized, and I can't remember the guy's name at the top of my head, but he is trying to walk Bruce through this pain. And it goes back to, like, there's Bruce Banner, and then there's the Gray Hulk, and then there's the Hulk, the Green Hulk, and they're all like sitting in a room talking, It's really kind of funny.
I've actually seen. I had a Marvel Universe book, and I remember it showed like a little scene where it's got like 3 Hulks sitting like with their like legs crossed,
right? Yeah, just sitting there talking
all around the circle. I've seen that before.
So that's an issue 377. I can show it to you. It's very interesting because it really it dives deep into how the 3 of them work together to function in life, and this every time they start to dive deep into his childhood, because he doesn't fully understand why he has all the torment and pain that he has, because he works so hard to repress everything that happened. This huge, almost xenomorph looking monster comes out, and it's like, I don't know, like 15 feet tall. And Bruce turns to like the Green Hulk. He goes, do something, help me. And the Green Hulk's like, I'll smash the monster. And he goes after it, and it just grabs him and breaks his back, kills him.
Damn.
And then the Gray Hulk, he's like, I'm going to go after this guy, and it just takes care of him, no problem. And then it grabs Bruce, and it's like there's nothing that can stop this monster. And at the end of the comic, because the monster keeps popping up, and then Bruce will kind of come out of it right when it's about to kill him, and then they'll put him back under, and then they'll keep diving deeper, trying to fix this problem. And then they finally, at the end of the issue, is so fucking cool. It goes to that scene where it's his mother and him, and they're trying to escape, and the dad shows up, but instead of the dad showing up, it's that monster. That monster is the father, and it goes after them and everything else, and then he finally realizes what the monster is. It's his dad, and he has some sort of revelation within that moment, and then all of a sudden Bruce Banner comes out of his hypnosis and starts hulking out, and they're like, oh shit, But then his wife is in the waiting room, Betty. She's waiting for hours, and she's like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm impatient. What the hell's going on with my husband? She goes to knock on the door, and the door opens, and it's her husband, but he's the Hulk. And he's like,
so Betty is married to
this
man
for
a while.
Yeah, they're married. So
wow, so that's different from the movies.
And he says, hey, honey, I'm home. And she's like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? So then it progresses from there, where he goes, they go to a bar. It's so cool. So they go to a bar, and he's the Hulk. He's fucking huge. He's 8 feet tall. He's all huge, but he's all the brilliance of Bruce Banner, but also the wit and the personality and the I'm taking shit from nobody of the Gray Hulk is there too. And in my opinion, I think one of the reasons why this Hulk didn't last very long is because, in my opinion, he was fucking perfect. He was tactile up here. He was incredibly smart. He was good at fighting. He knew he was very much kind of like Captain America.
Was this the Doc Green version of Hulk, commonly referred to?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason Doc Green ended up, he came about during the Extremist storyline in the Marvel, which they touched on in some of the Iron Man movies. It was a much bigger deal than the Iron Man movies made it seem. And he was able to re-engineer the Extremist virus to allow him to maintain his intelligence. But he gave that up because there's a parallel future world where Hulk becomes a character called the Maestro. And he has that super intelligence and that power, but he also eventually becomes and succumbs to the absolute power corrupts absolutely mentality, and he ends up killing all the heroes, taking over everything, becoming an ultimate big bad. So Doc Green sees the potential in himself to eventually become that Maestro type character, and decides instead of trying to save himself, he would let himself fade away as the Extremist goes away. In order to prevent him becoming a bad guy, because he knew that having that intelligence and that power to do something at the same time it's that cup that you cannot avoid but drinking.
No, it's kind of like with the going super nerdy now, but in Lord of the Rings with the ring, it doesn't matter how pure of heart you are, even Frodo, it will fucking corrupt you if you keep exposing yourself to it longer.
Exactly.
So with this, he goes into this bar, and these guys, first of all, they walk into the bar, and they're like, Bruce, where are we going to sit? You can't fit between the table and it's like a booth with a table that's in the middle of it. And he goes, oh, yeah, no problem. He grabs the table and just moves it, And the waitress is like, that was bolted to the floor. And he's like, that's fine. I put it on his tab. He'll fix it, And like, so they moved this table and they're sitting at this bar talking, and he's got a beer in his hand and he's drinking a beer. And the guy, I want to say his name was Leon or Leonard. He's got green hair. I don't know a lot about the background right now. Nerds listening to this are like, you're dumb. You don't know stuff. But the guy that psychoanalyzed him is now talking to him. He's like, hey man, like, I think you need to take it easy. Like, you just came out of this crazy situation. We don't know what the ramifications are of what just happened. And he's like, relax. He's like, we're celebrating. It's fine. He's like, I'm a new me. I feel great. I've dealt with my pain, and look at me. He's like, I'm this way all the time, but I'm not that big dumb brute like before. This is great. And he's like, well, yeah, but Bruce, like, he's like, you never used to drink, and now look at you. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm celebrating being who I truly am now. I'm not repressed anymore. He's like, I'm enjoying a beer. It's fine. And about that time, these jerks come walking in the bar, and they're like, hey, who are those assholes sitting in our booth? And Bruce just kind of says over his shoulder, he's like, oh yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to find. Why don't you go sit at the bar? This booth is taken. And the guy like comes over, somehow doesn't recognize how fucking big the Hulk is sitting there. And he's kind of standing over him. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you understand. Maybe we need to teach you a lesson. You're in my seat, this and that. And the Hulk stands up, and the guy's like, and he grabs him by his shirt and just lifts him up and gets in his face. And he's like, look, you have two choices right now. You can either pursue this, and I will happily literally rip you into pieces, or you guys can belly up to the bar over there, and your first round of drinks are on me. And the guy's like, okay, yeah. And he goes, good choice. And he sets him down. They go to the bar, and he's like, hey, waitress, drinks on, well, him, because I don't have any money. And he points at his friend. And then he turns to his friend. He goes, see, I didn't lose control. He's like, I did the right thing. He's like, I would have ripped that guy apart, but he made the right choice. See, Yeah. So, and it progresses from there, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens along the line. They run into these people called the Pantheons, and he has a whole thing with them. And there's this whole storyline that I fucking love because he's smart, he's intelligent. He gets into there's an episode where he gets into a fight with the Juggernaut. And he handles himself extremely well.
There's a Hulk Juggernaut fight?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's really fucking good.
That would be entertaining.
Yeah. Almost every single comic book character you can think of at one point has fought another comic book character you can think of.
Funny side story, there's a comic book I have, a special edition. It's a Spider-Man comic where it's like, literally, it's like Spider-Man, Hulk, the Punisher. There's a bunch of people, and they're all fighting a bunch of villains. And there's a scene where they have this big giant brawl. It's fucking cool. And Electro is like juicing the Hulk, like giving him everything he's got. He's just like, bah! And he's got this look on his face like, I'm fucking him up. And the Hulk just kind of is like lumbering towards him as he's zapping him. And he gets close enough, and the Hulk goes, boom, like that. And he like flicks him with this big smile on his face. He goes like that. And the dude goes flying. It's so funny.
Like the scene where Hulk destroys Loki and in the films like that. I loved that scene so much. The puny god.
You know what I liked more is also in Thor Ragnarok when basically he does the same thing to Thor, and then you see Loki in the audience says, yes, that's how it feels. That's how it feels. Yes. That was great.
So before we dive into the movie Hulks, I just want to say what I was saying about the comic book Hulk is that I loved that Hulk growing up as a kid. That was my favorite one out of all of them.
Ultimate favorite Marvel character.
Of all time, that particular Hulk.
Yeah.
Hands down, favorite character, period. I don't care what you say. But they have never done him justice, and I got so fucking disappointed and we'll get into the movie Hulks, but the very last Hulk that they had, where I'm watching the movie and then they show him sitting there and he's got the glasses. I'm like, oh, finally, here we go. This is fucking great. I've been waiting decades for this.
For Professor Hulk?
Yes. Yeah. And he was just a professor. He didn't fucking do anything. He put the glove on and snapped his fingers. That was all he fucking did. That and then
there was one scene where they went back to time and he kind of had to look like the Hulk, so he started going around just picking things up.
But it was more of a comedic aspect. Yeah. But the thing is, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to the end, but if almost everyone and their mom has seen these fucking movies, I don't care.
Yeah, we're going to be pretty much spread out on these. Yeah. Like I said, this is just a Hulk Extravaganza episode, so it's all over the place.
So I'm going to get into this, then we'll get into the movie Hulks. I definitely want to hear your opinion, Stu, on this stuff, and you too, Ron. But the thing that pissed me off so much, and I've actually seen YouTube videos where people have the same opinion than I do about this, when when the Hulk got tuned up by Thanos the first time around, that really fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, what the fuck, man? And the Hulk got, it was a joke. He got his ass whipped. I don't think if they were true to the comics, that would happen, because the more you pummel him, the more angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. He's even stronger than Thanos. He's stronger than anything in the universe.
I have to bring that up. I know I'll say something real quick, but when you think about Ang Lee's Hulk and that version where he grows more and more and more whenever you get him more mad, that doesn't happen in the other films.
Doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, in the comics, he gets stronger and he gets angrier. He doesn't grow in size, but he gets stronger and he gets angrier.
Right.
And he basically just, the more you, it's a crazy cycle, because the more you pummel him, the more you destroy him, the more indestructible he becomes. That's what makes him so fucking unique.
Okay. My theory, and what I appreciated the fact of the Thanos fight and Hulk's reaction to that. One, you have to remember, based on the mentality we talked about, the ass whooping that he grew up with, taking and seeing his somebody else, taking, that he loved his mom. So that father type figure. To Thanos, every one of his strikes, if you paid attention, were at major points that would shut down blood flow.
Yeah, he hit him in the throat at one point.
And also hit him in carotid arteries, hit him in different spinal points. Basically, a most direct way to shut down adrenaline from pumping into that person, which would then feed Hulk. It's like that. So he shut him down before Hulk could get to that point where he couldn't shut him down. And then Hulk's reaction of getting his ass beat when he never had gotten his ass beat as the Hulk made him retreat inside himself and cower inside himself as a reaction to what he grew up with and the childhood trauma that came
psychologically. He went into, it's my dad and he's beating me mode kind of a thing.
Hulk wasn't geared up enough to take Thanos' strikes, and with Thanos being the ultimate fighter that he was, is why he won that battle.
Caught him off guard, and you can see it in his face, because when he's grabbing him and then Thanos just like starts to overpower him like he's nothing, there's that panic, like, oh, fuck, this guy's actually as strong as me. Now what do I do? And then that's when he just starts, like you said, doing the strategic strikes and just handles him no problem. But what sorry, too much soda. So what frustrated me to no end, though, is that I was waiting for that moment where they had that big grandiose battle at the very end of everything. That fucking defining moment. And God, they missed an opportunity of a lifetime with this, where the Hulk's doing his thing, Thanos is doing their thing on the battlefield, and then all of a sudden the two of them bump into each other. They stop and they turn, and it's like, okay, this is the moment. This is the moment where you're not dealing with some dumbass. You're dealing with someone that actually has intelligent thought. I know how to fight. I'm a tactician, and now you're fucked because I'm going to fuck you up. That would have been, and then to have like the whole battlefield just kind of recognize that that's about to happen, and everything just fuck. Like in Troy, when they thought that Brad Pitt's character was about to fight the other guy, Hector, and like the battle kind of stopped a little bit, and they made a circle because they're like, oh shit, I got to see this. They could have done something just like that and had a battle of a lifetime between Thanos and the Hulk, but instead it was
a Thor, Iron Man, Captain America type of thing towards Thanos.
Yeah, and then they had the whole woman quadruple of like superheroes, and they had their little moment. But Hulk never got his redeeming moment. He never got that moment to be like, okay, motherfucker, I've got all my wits about me, and I know what you're about now. You're not going to catch me off guard this time. Let's do this. And they never did it.
But the reason that they had to artificially cripple Hulk to prevent him from doing that, just winning the battle one-handed, or for just a drama storyline at all.
Yeah.
So they crippled him by making his hand crippled after the snap. So he
ruined by the Infinity Glove. Yeah, his whole arm is all burned up.
Exactly. So he was still a threat, a big threat, but it basically evened the playing field again, where yes, he has a smart Hulk, but smart Hulk with a handicap now.
But you know what? Yeah. There is something that you got to think, is that he was the only one that was able to do the Infinity Stone snap.
Yeah, he's the only one that was strong enough to do that.
Exactly. So that showed a little bit of something.
And it's still wrecked.
I mean, I know it's not his Hulk, his smashing everything and killing everything. But
I just wish I could have seen that fight.
Well, here's a good question for you. Out of all the movies, where do you feel like Hulk has had his scene, had his, really, you know what I mean?
So, okay, so if we want to go into the different movie Hulks, I would say, personally, I think the movie that really makes Hulk shine the most would probably be the first Avengers movie because, dude, he fucking dominates, dude, and nothing stops him. I think, I almost came to tears. I'm not even kidding. Like, when I was in theaters and I saw the Avengers movie and that scene where that huge fucking worm's coming at them, and he says, my secret is I'm always angry. He turns and fucking stops that gigantic. It's the size of a skyscraper, and he fucking stops it and destroys it.
I think that was the most crowd-pleasing moment in the film in the theaters for everybody when they saw that scene.
That was my euphoric Hulk moment, the one moment that at least I did get, where I was like, fuck yes, dude. Like, I actually said that in the theaters. My wife was like, calm down. I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I was cheering and yelling because they finally kind of did him justice. He fucking shined, and he just starts fucking destroying stuff. Even the part where him and Thor are working together, and then they finally both come to a standstill. He just goes, and just punches punches Thor. That part made me laugh. That was
what makes me
great.
laugh is because right now what you're reminding me is of how I got excited. I know this is completely off subject of the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One.
Yes, it was
I
that.
did the exact same thing. I stood up in the theater, was like, "Fuck yeah,
yeah, dude!"
So I could feel you did that when you saw Hulk, smashing that.
You get to someone actually stretch their legs and show their stuff, really show it.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. So that was amazing. And then, Thor Ragnarok was more. The Hulk was cool in that, but it was more comedy. Like, that movie was hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Ragnarok one was actually their way of incorporating the Planet Hulk storyline because Universal
I remember you telling me that.
Still owns to this day the rights for any standalone Hulk movie. So they cannot make a standalone Hulk movie. That's why Marvel hasn't done a movie with just centering on Hulk. So they figured out a way, well, if we make it a Thor movie, then we can tell this storyline and get around those rights. And that's their way of shoehorning and backdooring a classic piece of comic literature into the Marvel universe.
Wasn't that your favorite, out of all the Hulk storylines in the first place, the Planet Hulk?
I'm going to say it's up there. I've always enjoyed Hulk. He hasn't been the character that I've most connected to. Wolverine has been my character. And I love the fact that Wolverine was actually first introduced in a Hulk comic, 2 Hulk comics, 180 and 181, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And they've had so many great battles over the years. And then just being a comic book fan, Hulk has always been in the periphery. So you still learn stuff about him and stuff going on because all these stories are interconnected and woven into each other in the big overarching universe of Marvel. So I've always been a huge fan of that character and what they've done with him, even though he hasn't been my primary focus.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to bring up. It's off the Hulk subject. Everybody's favorite Marvel character of all time. Yours is Hulk. I've always known that, knowing you, and I know yours is Wolverine, and mine's is Gambit. I've always loved Gambit. I liked him from the animated series of X-Men, and I've always liked his character, the cage and the being able to make everything explode. I liked his character. So
funny enough about Gambit too. Side story. This is something I learned watching that video. Is that so the very 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 brief loose story of Planet Hulk is that he goes to this planet. He ends up becoming a gladiator, and eventually end up overthrowing that government. He takes over the planet, becomes like the leader. Everything's great. And then the ship that he originally got sent there on, for whatever reason, he thinks it's because of the Avengers. Later on, you find out, plot twist, it's not. But the ship explodes like nuclear style and fucking wipes out everything on the planet. Kills everything he loves, kills his kingdom, kills everyone there, kills his wife, everybody.
And he actually has 2 kids.
Yeah, he had 2 kids with this wife.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, dude. So he's like, and he thinks it's because of the ship because the ship exploded, right? And he thinks, okay, well, these motherfuckers, they send me away, they take away everything from me, and I from nothing, I build up my own kingdom. I've got a wife, and then here we are again. They take everything away from me. I'm going to fucking bring it to him. And that's where World War Hulk comes out, because Hulk has got a small band of warriors that are like his right-hand dudes, and him and them show up.
The Warbound, I believe.
Yes, the Warbound. They show up to fucking Earth, and they start fucking bringing it to him. And
Korg and Meek from Ragnarok were part of his Warbound.
Yeah. Really? So was Thor was he actually a real character in the comics?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So what they did is they took little tidbits here and there from the comics and put it into the MCU universe.
Yeah, they sprinkle it into.
But it's not like the full complete story. They just took pieces of it.
It's
basically
impossible for them to tell the full complete story in just one movie or two movies, because these are overarching.
Do you feel that they've done it justice though?
2-year long stories through the Marvel. It's the best justice they can do,
right,
without hyper focusing on just that small story, which isn't what the MCU does.
Well, isn't there like a rumor that they are planning on trying to do a whole Planet Hulk thing? Like they're trying to make his own?
They would like to, but once again, they have to work out that deal with Universal to have.
Well, it'd be the same thing like Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man is owned by Sony, right?
Yeah, but they've worked out that deal with Sony. They don't have that deal with Universal. Huh. Universal.
See, that's because of all this red tape bullshit. That's why the Hulk's been getting fucked over time and time again with the movies that they've made.
Yeah.
And that's all stems from when the comic bubble burst and Marvel almost went bankrupt, and they had to sell off the film and TV rights to almost all their characters.
Yeah.
Iron Man was a very minor character. Nobody really wanted Iron Man, so that's why Marvel retained those rights, because nobody wanted those rights. Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody wanted those rights.
And now they're like monsters.
Exactly.
They're like huge. And
so Marvel was forced to focus and make these films on characters that weren't super popular at the time, and that's why they're left over.
Right.
And they so when he comes to the planet and starts waging war, basically what he does, he starts defeating every single superhero one by one, and basically captures them and then forces them to fight each other in an arena, until finally, basically what I forget the guy's name, Centurion, I think his name is, but he's like the Superman of Marvel. Centurion. He's like the Superman of Marvel. He finally steps up. People have been begging him to get involved, and he's like, I don't really give a shit. I don't care either way. And he finally steps up and goes, okay, enough's enough. And he battles the Hulk, and it's fucking legendary.
Don't they actually have a comic of Superman versus Hulk somewhere?
No, it's been discussed many times, but it would be.
I've seen YouTube videos or something like that.
Don't remember. I know there was on and off crossovers between the Marvel and the DC universe. Yeah,
and they basically they stated that Superman would lose in a fight against the Hulk simply because the Hulk's strength and power is an endless well. The Superman, as incredibly powerful as he is, there is a finite borderline of where he can go with that power. There's a stopping point of how strong or powerful he is. With the Hulk, it's endless.
What is his weakness then?
The Hulk, the way that Centurion ended up taking him down was because I want to say the Centurion is able to like manipulate or absorb or something with gamma rays. So he was able to essentially take Hulk's power from him. What ends up happening is they both battle each other, because they're both. The World War Hulk is probably the most powerful Hulk in the storyline period, and he is unfucking stoppable. I mean, any Marvel hero, you name it, they try to stop him, and he fucking handles them like they're nothing.
Yeah.
Centurion comes along, and he's the one and only being on that planet that is about level neck and neck with him, and they literally just battle each other until they're both worn out. Well, the problem is when the Hulk finally gets worn out, he reduces back down to Bruce Banner. And then as soon as he does, they did something to like put him to sleep. And that was how they were able to do that.
There's a character called Absorbing Man, which can absorb radiation, absorb light beams and stuff like that.
Kind of like a rogue character?
Sort of. But it's not absorbing your powers, it's absorbing the energies that's being put out.
Oh, isn't that guy's name like Darwin or something like that? His ability is to survive.
Darwin's a different one. That's somebody who is able to constantly evolve into whatever he needs to at the time. Right. Absorbing Man is a regular on-again, off-again adversary of Hulk, because he can continuously absorb the gamma radiation that triggered Hulk's powers from Hulk. There's one fight they had where it left Hulk looking totally emancipated, just sickly, but still in Hulk form, but just like almost like a walking skeleton.
Yeah,
because he absorbed everything out of him. And the other big weakness of Hulk is, so Gamma gave him the powers. There's an ongoing thing that they're now really starting to introduce heavily on, cosmic radiation, which is what gave Fantastic Four their powers. Helps feed a lot of other Marvel superheroes, and it's basically the antithesis, I believe is the word, of gamma radiation. Mm-hmm. So it could basically poison Hulk. You can poison Hulk with cosmic radiation.
Oh, wow.
And I was going to say, a side note too, when World War Hulk happens, he's not Doc Hulk, but he's intelligent. Like he can talk, and he can, he's a very formidable opponent, and he fights Wolverine. And this is how smart he is. In the past, Wolverine and him would go rounds, but in this particular fight with Wolverine, he quickly realizes, he goes, okay, your adamantium is indestructible. He said, but your brain isn't. So all I need to do is bounce your brain around inside the adamantium skull of yours, and that's how I defeat you. And he quickly gets Wolverine on the ground and just fucking pummels his head against the ground with his fist until his brain is basically mush. Like, that's how smart he is. He quickly goes... he figures out what people's weaknesses are, like, almost instantly. He's like, okay, cool. And then he just fucking destroys you. Like, it's nuts. Anyways, so the first Hulk movie with Ang Lee's version, I saw that when I was young, so I thought it was amazing.
Saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, yes, but I will say this. The acting in that movie sucked balls. I couldn't stand the acting from anybody, and that even includes...
Eric Bana?
No, who was the who played his father?
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte. Yeah. So Nick,
really
even Nick Nolte's character, like, the acting wasn't that good. Like, the acting was fucking terrible in that movie, in my opinion. I did not like it at all. But the whole, like, comic book,
that was cool.
Yes.
That was very artistic. That was above it.
I don't think any other comic book has done that.
No, and it was ahead of its time, and it was very unique and very fucking cool. I loved that, and also the scenes where he actually turned into the Hulk. Ignoring the whole growing bigger as he gets angrier, that part's fucking dumb. But other than that, I loved those scenes. Like when he
that's not in the comics of him getting bigger.
No, he doesn't.
No, there are some.
Does he get bigger?
Yes. It's a weird infinite mass ability that he has. Just like any comic character, the longer they run, the more powerful and weirder powers they develop. And that is one of the ones where he would do it, like the World Breaker Hulk.
Okay.
And the reason he's able to break worlds, literally destroy entire planets, is because of the infinite mass ability that he has.
Yeah, he gets really angry because, real quick, not to jump around too much, but in World Breaker Hulk and World War Hulk, he finally finds out that, what was the little insect dude's name that was his friend? Meek. He finds out that Meek... Mm-hmm. is the one that made that spaceship blow up. He finds out that Meek, one of his friends, is the one that did it. It had nothing to do with the Avengers. And the reason why Meek did that is because Meek, his logic was, you're built for destruction and you're built for war. So when that time of peace came, Meek was like, well, that doesn't, no, he needs to be in constant fight and fight mode. So he set the ship to detonate. So when he finds that out, he flips the fuck out. And he gets so angry at one point, he stomps on the ground and causes an earthquake that shakes the entire eastern seaboard of the United States with one stomp.
Wow.
That's how fucking powerful he was. But anyways, so the
Edward Norton?
No, I'm still talking about Ang Lee. So those scenes where, like, he takes it to the military and shit like that, those were really fucking cool. I enjoyed those a lot. Those scenes were great.
And could he jump?
Yes, that was the other thing that was really cool, because that's true to the comics. He could leap like miles and miles at a time. Yeah. And it shows him doing that at one point. And that's one of the coolest parts of the movie, in my opinion. Like when they have like the music playing and it shows him fucking leaping. And it's just, oh God, it's so fucking cool. So
even more powerful in the longer leaps each time, and just building up, ramping that, because Hulk can't fly. So, but his pure strength,
he can do these long jumps.
Exactly, just like Superman originally couldn't fly. He just could jump really fucking high. They leap tall
And
buildings.
then he's
in a
be able
single
to
bound.
use Earth's gravity to make himself fly, basically.
Eventually, that became one of his superpowers.
So with Edward Norton's version, the acting was better. I liked the acting in that one.
I liked Edward Norton.
And that's the tragic thing is, to be honest with you, like Mark Ruffalo did a decent job. I will give it to him, but just for continuity, I wish so badly that it had worked out to where Edward Norton could have stuck around, but it didn't work out.
Well, he had issues with the director to the point where there was actually supposed to be a longer cut. A lot of his scenes were cut, and he wasn't happy with how it went, so he kind of just signed off on doing any more.
Yeah,
he wasn't happy at how the final product came out.
And I watched the Hulk scenes; they were pretty good. With the Abomination and all that was not bad. I liked it.
Was Abomination actually a character in the comics?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. He is
Was
one
he
of his
saying
big bad.
he was a
The
soldier?
leader, Abomination, Red Hulk. These are primary villains of.
Which fun fact I want to say, isn't Red Hulk Thunderbolt Ross?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't even know who that is.
Betty's
dad.
father, who goes
Really?
after the
Yes.
Hulk and fucking hates the Hulk. He becomes he finds I haven't read the comics, but from what I've heard and stuff and I've seen, he becomes the Red Hulk. And
there's a whole bunch of Hulks.
Well, he's the same character that's also in the Avengers, right? Isn't that the exact same character,
Yes.
the general, the one that's really against the Avengers, where they shouldn't have their rights to do what they want?
Thunderbolt Ross, yeah, he's a real dick.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so you were saying about
So there's a lot of different Hulks in the comic world. You got the whole Red Hulk family. You got a Red Hulk, a Red She-Hulk, the Gamma Squads.
Who's She-Hulk?
She-Hulk is Banner's cousin.
she gets a blood transfusion from him because she needs it for some operation or something, and ends up getting his abilities through that.
Oh, so it's just
But
family.
she's able to maintain her intelligence level, and she's actually a practicing lawyer in the Marvel universe.
Really?
Yeah, as She-Hulk.
I know they're planning on making a She-Hulk movie, actually.
I don't think it's a movie. I think it's a series. They're going to be.
Was it a
doing.
series?
Yeah, on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
So it's She-Hulk has always been. She's strong,
Cara Dune
stuff
would
like
be a
that,
perfect
but
She-Hulk.
she's not ridiculously strong. There's actually one comic group where Banner and /Hulk realize that the gamma radiation that's going to be gamma mutations is what they call them, is going to end up just killing everybody in the long term. So he just goes on a spree and either kills or takes away the gamma mutates from Red Hulk, from everybody. The only mutate he leaves is She-Hulk, because that gamma radiation actually wasn't doing her any harm in her personal life. She was able to maintain and to still be a functional member of society.
Yeah, so I would say that the Hulk, the Edward Norton Hulk, the acting was a lot better. The Hulk was the scenes with the Hulk were pretty cool. I liked him. His fight with Abomination was cool. The Abomination character was really cool.
I like how he kicks him on the side at the end.
I like how Ed Norton, you can tell he was a fan of the Hulk. I'm curious if he had more creative control that he wanted the way Ryan Reynolds did with Deadpool, what the result of that would have been like.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you saw somebody who absolutely loves the character succeed with that character with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
And I just wish that the director had not, gotten in the way and let kind of Edward Norton have a little bit more, because I'm guessing Edward Norton, if they're tightening the ring so tight on him, he's like, cool. So this is going to be like a however many more movie deals, and if I'm going to be getting fucking stifled like this every movie, then fuck this. I'm not doing this.
Well, the director is more of a director for hire, because he's done movies like The Transporter, and he's done movies like Clash of the Titans, and
but he wasn't involved with Avengers and all those. Though,
No.
So I think if Edward Norton had just maybe hung in there and just waited until like the Avengers and that, it might have been better. I don't know, man. It sucks, but that he, because again, he was a big fan, as it turns out, of that story, and he did a very good job as Bruce Banner in portraying that like haunted, depressed, like my life is just constant. There's never there's never like a moment of like peace really for him, and you get that off of his character.
See, I disagree. I think he didn't do Banner justice. Banner is supposed to be this more mild,
quirky.
He doesn't really want any sort of confrontation. Doesn't want to have to deal with any of that stuff. In the comics, he's like 5'9", small little guy, just very, very small of stature. Does not want to get in anybody's face. Anybody get into his face. He hates confrontation. I felt Norton portrayed it more as an angry teen type portrayal of Banner, and I did not appreciate that. That's why I appreciated Mark Ruffalo's version better.
Well, I would say that with the only reason why I think Edward Norton did it the way he did it was because it was sort of like, it was very loosely based off of shortly after the Ang Lee's version is what they were trying to do. Yeah. And Edward Norton, you know, he's in Central America. He's trying to have a low profile, but it shows at the very beginning of the movie, like he's learning like breathing techniques. He's learning jujitsu. He's learning different things that will help him.
He's also trying to find a cure.
And he's trying to find a cure.
From,
so
Mr.
like,
Blue.
I think that with that portion of his life as Bruce Banner, he is kind of fed up now. He is a little bit more aggressive because he's already been dealing with this for a while, and now he's trying to find ways to sort of reinvent himself in a sense to try and keep the Hulk under control, which is kind of interesting because in the very end of the movie, he realizes he finds a way to do that by basically embracing it, which was such a fucking cool revelation. And again, he didn't show up in the Avengers, but rolling into the Avengers again. Like I said, Mark Ruffalo did do a good job. That whole conversation that he has there's a couple of scenes where he's Bruce Banner and he's talking about how he tried to figure out a way to get rid of the Hulk, to include even committing suicide. That whole dialogue was fucking awesome.
No, that was a great scene where he tried to bite a bullet and the green guy spit it out.
Other guy spit it out, and then he has that initial conversation with Scarlet, not with Scarlet, Black Widow. And the cool thing about that whole thing is that Black Widow is one of those tough chicks that's not fucking afraid of anything. And the Hulk was the one thing that she was terrified of.
Which is funny because in Age of Ultron, they kind of fell in love.
Yeah, they do kind of fall in love. Yeah.
Did that happen in the comics by any chance?
No.
So was that more of an MCU thing?
That was an MCU thing.
Okay, I was curious.
So basically gave them both a artificial love interest.
Yeah, because in the Avengers, they didn't even bring up Betty at all.
No. In the Avengers, they didn't. But so... Age of Ultron, he was pretty good in Age of Ultron. Kind of the same as the Avengers. I feel like he had a much smaller role in Age of Ultron versus the Avengers, the first one though, as far as Hulk scenes go. And then you had Ragnarok, which again I loved. I didn't like there were a few things that he said as the Hulk that were funny, but him being like, was kind of I wasn't a big fan of that, but
like a big 10-year-old.
But there was a couple of scenes like the smoldering fire thing we had at the beginning of the thing that was funny, and then there's that scene where he's going to go after the giant mountain god thing, and Thor's like, Hulk, no, and he goes, but big red monster, and he like point. Thought that was great.
I thought they actually did well because maybe but he had grown for the past few years, as this creature. So intelligence-wise, he had gone from dumb Hulk to,
at least being able to function and form sentences.
So, which will follow the same growth pattern of a regular human.
Yeah.
Just a few years of experience. They're not going to have sit down and have a dissertation with you. No, they're like, I want to go kill that. And I thought they did well representing the fact that he's been stuck in the Hulk form for however many years they said equivalently.
Now, I didn't want to talk about this, but you know what? I'm just going to bring it up because I want to ask you guys. Did you guys, when you were a kid, did you watch the television series?
I seen multiple episodes, not the whole thing.
Yeah, no, when I was a kid, I think I saw a couple of episodes, but I never actually sat and watched it.
Incredibly cheesy, but it wasn't bad. For that time.
And I loved, by the way,
Lou Ferrigno,
shout out to Lou, the cameo with Lou Ferrigno.
Oh yeah, in
God,
Hulk when they're walking out.
Yeah,
he's the big cop.
He comes in. He's a security guard for the building, and
Stan Lee's right next to him.
Edward Norton's like, hey, he's like, hey, I really got to get upstairs. Can you just give me a pass? I'll give you one of these medium pizzas. And he like looks at me, hands him the pizza, and he's like, he stands up. Edward Norton like goes, oh shit, like kind of looks at him because. That was one of the things about Lou Ferrigno, like in Generation Iron, when he goes up against Arnold. The one reason why he was such a formidable opponent to Arnold on stage is because Lou Ferrigno's like 6'5", 6'7". He's fucking huge.
Well, you remember he was also
he's big.
You remember his cameo in Ang Lee's too, because he's out there walking with Stan Lee.
Yeah,
2 security officers walking out. I believe it. You remember that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so fucking
believe
cool.
that Lou Ferrigno also is a really smart motherfucker.
Yeah,
he's deaf, but he's super smart.
So everyone thinks
multiple degrees and everything.
Everyone thinks he's dumb because of how he sounds when he talks. He's actually a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
So I would love to meet him. Anyway, so You have, let's see, Ragnarok, and then you have the first
Endgame, Infinity War.
Infinity Wars, where, he has this fight with Thanos, kind of gets handled, and then you don't really see him
want to
anymore.
come out, basically.
Yeah. And then there was the last movie, which, again, as I said, I was disappointed. I really do wish that they would have arranged something where maybe he fights Thanos and he doesn't, save the day like usual, so it's not so predictable, but at least, really brought it to Thanos and really fucking injured him. And because he hurt him so bad, it made it easier for them to get the glove from him or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I kind of had my opinion about that too, but I'm hoping that in the future they do.
They had to
something.
limit everybody because Captain Marvel, based on her comic storyline, realistically, she could have beat the shit out of Thanos at any time. Her character is that powerful.
They didn't really use her that way, though.
Because she's
it would have been too easy.
Overpowered.
It would have been too easy.
They had to create dramatic stakes and, don't know. And they also still wanted to give everybody that had come before their nod and, their little moment in the sun.
Right.
So that's why they couldn't have too many big fights because then it wouldn't have had time for everybody else.
Yeah, because the movie is already long as shit even without that. So.
Question, Age of Ultron, the Hulkbuster suit, was that actually in the comics?
Yes. 100%.
Yes. That was, and I forgot to, a quick nod to that because I completely forgot about that. Thank you. The one part about Age of Ultron that I did enjoy was that fight between the Hulk and the Hulkbuster. That was a great fucking scene.
My favorite scene is as when he's punching him constantly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he just spits out a tooth and smiles.
Yeah, he spits a tooth out and smiles at him like, all right, this is the... And, and the dude in the suit's like, oh, God, this is not going to go well. So, that was really good, too.
Tony Stark developed suits to actually fight every Avenger. There's a blank Buster suit for every single Avenger.
There's no way he could fight Thor. I mean, seriously.
No, he has Thor Buster suits.
Thunder.
He has Thor Buster suits.
Really?
Yes. Just like Batman has a plan how to take out every hero / villain.
Iron Man is kind of like the
DC,
Batman of the Marvel.
Yeah. Iron Man has the same thing. He's prepped for worst case scenarios, which they kind of allude to him wanting to build a shield, around stuff. He's always thinking, all right, how do I protect? How do I protect? How do I protect? And by doing that is the suits.
All right, guys. So last question of the this podcast is, what is your number one favorite Hulk from all the movies? What would you
are we
character,
talking about just
actor-wise,
or the different progressions? Because Mike Ruffalo is the only one who has multiple movies, and he portrays different versions.
I say let's do this. Let's do actor, and then do the actual Hulk.
That works for me.
Okay. All right.
So how about you, Stu?
I'm going to go with Mark Ruffalo. I felt he did the best justice to both the Banner creature, or the Banner personality, being mild, kind of afraid, and you can see he's had trauma on him, and he carries it well. And I feel
you do have a point on
that he does a great job also with the CGI and everything portraying the Hulk.
Yeah, I know. I remember that people always had issues with the CGI Hulks in the past and how they haven't got it right. And finally, the Avengers, they got it right. So,
yes. And I think my favorite Hulk would be the Ragnarok version of Hulk, where he's no longer a dumb idiot, but he's also not Bruce Banner. He's his own individual person. And even though he's not super smart yet, but he is his own person. So I think that Ragnarok version of Hulk was my favorite on the films.
How about you, Lenny?
So actor-wise, I'm not a big fan of him as a person, but I gotta say probably Mark Ruffalo. But I will say this: Edward Norton is a very, very close second. I'm almost like choose both of them in my opinion. I like them both very, very much. Hulk wise, God, it's hard, man. Because
I figured you'd go for the Avengers, the first one.
Because I would say the Avengers because that's the one where he really they really did the Hulk justice. I would say it would be a close between that and the first Hulk because again, the Ang Lee movie with the acting in that was terrible, but the scenes where he turned into the Hulk. Not so much the scene where he fought the dogs, kind of.
Yeah.
But when he fought the tank and all that shit, that was one of my top favorite scenes.
Okay.
So I'd say that would probably be a close second to the first Avengers Hulk.
If I had to pick, I like Edward Norton better. I like Mark Ruffalo, but when it comes to the Bruce Banner, I like Edward Norton's portrayal of him. And like I said, I'm not a big Hulk guy, but if I were to pick one, that's the one I would pick. I like his acting in that one. I like his character. I think how he's just a scrawny guy, and then he turns into it just works out for me. But I do agree with you on the, you can tell how Mark Ruffalo is like a troubled past. So that right there, you proved a point there. But if I had to go to a movie Hulk, I'd probably go with the first Avengers. Actually, that one, it seems like that one was the most enjoyable sequence to watch in the theaters. Just seeing, wow, that is just seeing him, just especially punch that damn flying lizard thing,
worm lizard.
Yeah,
I would
was an
say
amazing scene
because the Avengers is a long movie, but you watch it and like you're like, come on, like everyone's waiting for the Hulk to come, and then finally when he does show up, it's like brief. He kind of tears apart the plane. There was that scene, but then when he shows up in the middle of, was it Manhattan or wherever they were in New York, it was worth the wait.
I forgot about that scene where he's on the jet. That scene is pretty. See, that's another one, that's why I think the Avengers is his best portrayal. Yeah. And I agree with you also. Thor Ragnarok is a great. I think that's more comedic, but definitely I really like the whole Gladiator Hulk thing. I thought that was a cool sequence. But anyways, guys, that's our episode. I think it went pretty well. So we will see you guys later for the next small batch. Have a good one.
Hope you guys liked it. Hey guys, thanks for listening to our podcast, Barrel Age Flicks. We are so excited for the upcoming episodes headed your way and bonus episodes of the small batch. If you love our show, please spread the word. You can give us a follow on Instagram. Our username is Barrel Flicks. We're also on Facebook as Barrel Aged Flicks. Send a like our way. If you have any questions or movie requests, you can send us a message or an email at barrelagedflicks@gmail.com. Credit to White Bat Audio, who's located on YouTube, for our background music. Thank you guys so much. It's a big help. You can also find our podcast on the following platforms: Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Spotify, Radio Public, Audible, Pocket Cast, and we're also on YouTube. We hope to see you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening.